Welcome, everybody. This is Real Talk with Casey and JoJo. What's up, Casey?
What's up, JoJo?
Today, we're going to talk about a heavy topic, and that is stubborn and toxic habits / relationships. I think it's very important, and it's also part of the cycle that we're talking about for this second season, which is about the relationship cycle. If you missed the first episode, season 2, episode 1, it's the itch, which is about how the beginning of a relationship, the spark of a relationship starts, and it starts in the sign of Aries in the zodiac. So today we are talking about really the traits and the characteristics of Taurus. And how that's kind of correlated in our relationship. What's the times that we've been stubborn, the times that we've had many toxic habits, the times we've come across toxic relationships, etc. So are you ready for this?
Oh, man, I just want to say thank you for the repeated bringing up of past shit. It's just been so much fun. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm sitting on the couch playing with my son. And the door like swings open, like I'm angry and I need to find out some information immediately. And she's like, "Did you ever do such with such and such?" And I said, "The girl from like 26 years ago? Is that what you're talking about?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. No, I don't know what you're talking about right now. It was 26 years ago."
Yeah. So all of that is stemming from this cute little diary that I got way back in my birthday on August 22nd, 1993. It was my neighbor. She gave it to me for my birthday. And what?
And guys, write a diary. If you're with a woman that writes a diary, and let me tell you why. Because she's gonna read out of this diary word for word everything she felt, everything you did, the time of day it occurred, and you're not gonna know what the fuck she's talking about. Why? Because you don't have a damn diary to go. My diary says it happened at 4:27.
No, that's not even the point. Look, we write in our diaries to vent, to share amazing stories and also horrible stories, because it's a way to, a lot of times I was like talking to God, I was talking to myself, I was talking to you, different ways of expressing oneself.
I've never written in a diary, but
you have.
Does your diary tell you that I have?
I remember actually that I have a journal where you started writing in there every day, and I took over.
But I mean like continuously for years upon years. I don't have a relationship with a diary. You have a relationship with that,
right?
But it brings up a good point. I forgot what I was going to say. Move on. Diaries.
You were just basically like, have one too, so that you can see both sides of the coin, to see both sides of the picture. Because he was like, well, that's all your perspective, and I'm like, yeah, it's my perspective because it's my perspective. Like that's I'm writing things based on how I see them at the time, not how you see them.
Of course, and that's not to diminish that, but it's what I'm trying to say. And fellas, this is why we need diaries. Start the diary movement for men. Is that if I had a diary, I would then be able to counter your perspective with similar events that coincided. And that would be more interesting, right? Because I'm going off memory. I'm going off, emotions that I haven't felt.
And just to be clear, it's not even called a diary for men. It's a journal.
Whatever.
Journaling.
It's a diary.
It's journaling.
Journal, diary.
It's journaling.
Satchel, purse.
So we've been basically digging in, or I have been digging into my diaries that I've been writing in since 1993. And a lot of things that we suppress or forget are written in there, and they come up to the surface. And I think that this is a therapeutic way to heal from those things, and to also see patterns, recognize the patterns, try to fix them, things like that. So what?
You know what I find terribly amusing is that we used to spend hours arguing about all the stuff written in that diary.
Like, we're not even in the camera, babe.
I'm just want to be comfortable and not shake the table and not do all the things that I'm alerted that I shouldn't do on a podcast. And now I'm too close. It's like, fuck,
because
man.
you're outside
There's
the view.
Always something to fix. always.
Stop.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, and I find it hilarious that now.
Okay, sorry.
Now
I'll move it.
we're talking about the same shit we talked for hours about before, but in a more healing manner. You see that? You see the loop?
I do.
The
so
frisbee,
let's
the
clue them
boomerang.
into what Taurus characteristics are. Like, for example, the strengths are to reliability, patience, being practical, being devoted, stable, all the things that we were trying to achieve, but we just hadn't really achieved yet.
Well, we were all those things, but we weren't all those things, and it's super interesting. More about that later.
Right. Well, that's because we also were doing more of like the weaknesses of Taurus, which is like very stubborn, very possessive.
No, but I think that it's interesting that the strengths of a Taurus is reliability. We were both super reliable. Like I knew I could rely on you if I needed you, right? Like I knew you were devoted to me, even though you weren't devoted to me, even though I wasn't being devoted to you.
Right. We were and we weren't.
We weren't. Right.
I get it.
But on a really weird way. Like that's not normal. You know what I'm saying? Like you. I don't know.
And I think that's because it was the battle between the ego and the higher self. The higher self knew, the ego didn't. And it was this constant battle between both.
Yes.
So that's what it was.
Yes, that's what it was. It's a battle. Look at you.
Let's start off with our baggages. So I'm going to say one of my toxic habits was drinking. I didn't really think it was until after looking at all my diaries and noticing how much drinking was involved. But, I started drinking when I was 13, actually, in Miami. And that it wasn't like I was doing it a lot, but it was just more than normal, let's just say. At 13. And that drinking just kind of went into, adding antidepressants with the drinking. What else?
Why were you drinking?
Why was I drinking?
Yeah, what were you like? Ooh, alcohol, it tastes good. Or what did you know what it was going to do? Did you fall in love with how it made you feel initially? Like, what was that like? At 13?
I don't remember. At 13, it was more like, let me just see what this does. And this different feeling.
And you like the numbness
of it, which I didn't really understand until I was trying to bury myself in the pain of other things, like the move from Miami to here.
And it's, I think that's what it's all about, right? We do things, we have habits, we have toxic relationships because we just want to numb something.
Right. Pain. Right. Usually it's pain or like emotions that I haven't been able to, memories, emotions I haven't been able to overcome or heal from, etc. I think it just has to do with your choice of toxicity. Like, which way are you going to self-sabotage yourself? Because I know that one of the things that really bothered me was when I lost my virginity, and I had always wanted to wait till I got married. And at the time I had a boyfriend. I had explained to him, all of this, and I guess it went in one ear and out the other. But that was so heavy for me because it was one of those things I couldn't press rewind and do over. It was like, it was.
That sucks. I've thought about that, and this isn't coming from a husband, boyfriend, love you, jealousy standpoint, but if you had that discussion and he still didn't respect it, that sucks. Yeah. That sucks, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty shitty, and I don't know.
Yeah. Do you feel like the whole first experience?
Do you feel like a part of you? Even though you didn't want that to happen, you wanted that to happen?
Not really. I
No?
didn't want it to go to that extent. Like there, meaning,
Well, you
no,
either
no,
do or you
no.
don't.
Like there's foreplay.
Well, yeah, but that's not you losing your virginity.
Right. And I was okay with the foreplay, but I just didn't want it to go past the point of, oh my God, I
Losing your
lost my virginity. Right. And, you know.
Well, no, you brought up self-sabotage, and I'm just curious because I don't know. Maybe that's another podcast.
No, but I think that like what I was saying is that after that, and I couldn't press rewind, I pretty much was just like, fuck it. I can't do anything about it. I was angry at myself. I was just mad at the whole situation. I was mad at him. I was mad at so many things that's when I decided, okay, F it. If I already did that, then like whatever, I might as well continue. And then it was just a really numbing of the self because we moved to, that little small town that I just ended up drinking some more. I ended up drinking there. I was 15 at the time. And then, being, I guess, promiscuous, is that the right word? And just really numbing it all to the point where I would skip school because I was already drunk by the time, the bus came. I'm like, oh, it's too late. I can't walk there. I'm drunk. So, that was a big deal to me. I was what's it called? 100% attendance student. And until then. And so, those were all things that baggage I had carried before meeting you. So by the time that we met, here I am drinking, having shots every time you're late. And then just on top of that, having to deal with your temper, my attitude, like all the other baggage and toxic shit
mess.
Right? Like, it's just like, I call it laundry, stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff. So, at that point, like, what were your toxic habits?
I mean, you alluded to a few of them. I had a temper, still do, but I'm in much more control of it now. But yeah, temper,
explosive temper,
somewhat. Also self-worth issues. I too, was a little bit of a self-sabotager, guilty. What are some other toxic habits?
I think your temper was really just the big one.
Well, no, too. I think also like I envisioned how I wanted to be in terms of like as a father, a husband, and whatever, boyfriend, friend. But I also was like kind of an ass. You know what I mean, right? Like just kind of a very condescending, sarcastic, like ass. And I wasn't like that all the time, but when I was angry, like it would just magnify. Like that part of me would come out with like no governor, full speed ahead, everything I thought in my mind. And like I'm really good at cutting, right? Like, I remember in elementary school and in middle school, you'd get into cracking jokes on people, and like nobody wanted to fuck with me because I would hit you where it hurt. And I knew how to do that with her, especially. And it's like part of me too, I think kind of enjoyed it in a weird way. You know what I mean? Because
probably because I wasn't going to take it. And so that you brought out of me,
right,
that Black Panther.
That's absolutely correct.
And that's probably why you liked it. You're like, oh, wait, she can handle it.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see how much she can handle. And I kept bringing it.
That is true.
And we both were like, oh, like and it was this battle against the ego to see, until we finally were so eye to eye that we were like, this is exhausting. Like, let's both quit and like, let's stop let's stop playing from the ego and let's start playing with the soul, like let's go there. And that's where we are now. But we had to fight through the ego. We had to fight through all of this baggage. We had to fight through toxic relationships, like friends that weren't really the best of friends back then, with bad influences, that
just don't have the same goals, not on the same like path, just different lives, trying to be friends with different lives that don't mesh is essentially it. I don't think there was malintentions per se, but there was definitely just directions going in different directions, and trying to merge those is very difficult. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, okay. So toxic habits, toxic relationships. do you think that the relationships that were toxic in our lives were a mirror to our toxicity?
I think for me that, there was perfection and kind of how we met and how we were. And I think that we both very much enjoyed that perfection. It was almost like a restart. Like we're starting over, this is a brand new, white bear that doesn't have a scratch or a smudge on it. And then once it got that first smudge, it was
we tore that bear up.
Like, fuck it. Let's just get the whole bear dirty. And but at the same time, I mean, there was the love for the bear, for lack of a better term, never stopped. It was still my bear, like that's my child. You don't mess with my kid. And that's kind of how I guess we navigated through all this. But yeah, I mean, I think that we both wanted it to be perfect, and then once it got messed up, it was just like everything else. But this time we had both met our match. Like, I wasn't going to leave you. You weren't going to leave me. We were going to battle and throw punches until we earned each other's respect. And damn it, we earned it. You got my respect. You got my respect. I give, right? But the same for you, right?
Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with us seeing, like, the insecurity of, are you going to leave me? Helped us kind of push each other away, just to see, if I push you to the limit, then are you going to leave me? Because you said you wouldn't.
When is enough enough?
Right. And it was a test of, I'm going to show you my darkest side. And then if you still want to be with me, then I know you still want to be with me for the good. Right. But you got to go through the bad too. And a lot of times in relationships, people avoid the dark side. They're like, oh, I don't want to see that side. I don't want to. Then are you really accepting them for who they are? Are they accepting you for who you are? You're good, you're bad, you're ugly, all of that. And a lot of times we don't show that side to the other person. We hide those things. We think things, but we don't share it with our significant person. We don't, and there was a lot of times when we broke up that, we both did our thing and went separate ways, but we would come back and we would share that with one another. We still shared, even though it hurt.
Yes.
Like, at least it was, hey, you're my friend. And above everything that we're going through, we came to live here from the beginning to the end together. Not the beginning, but you know what I mean? Like, and we're going to go on this ride together, whether it's good or whether it's bad or whatever it is.
For better or worse.
Right. And that was before we even got married, or when we got divorced, or when we got remarried.
Yeah, but you brought up a good point, because I think with toxic relationships, like, yes, our relationship was toxic, very much so, but there was also like that aspect of, let me see if I can break the other person, let me see how far I can push them along. And I think in a lot of ways, like you saw through my bullshit and I saw through yours, right? Like, when we first met, I wasn't the guy that was chasing you. I wasn't the guy that was like, yo, you so fine, girl, what's your nut? Like, that just wasn't me. I'm like, hey, I'm here. If you want to talk to me, cool. If not, bye, peace. It's up to you. So in a lot of ways, I think that, like, the way that I was really, in terms of my toxicity, was very contradictory to what you were used to, right? And vice versa. Like, you saw through my bullshit and you called a spade, and I'm like, oh, okay. And that was sexy in a way for a while. But then it got out of control. But my point in all that is that I think sometimes, in a toxic relationship, it's that mirror aspect. It's that they're trying to show you an aspect of yourself that you're not willing to face or not willing to consider. And you just sort of rinse, wash, and repeat over and over and over again until you finally, like, get smacked in the head enough where you're like, yo, I need to fix this. I need to change something and become less toxic.
For sure. Sometimes it takes going to the end of, the bottom of that tunnel, or the bottom of, what is it called? The bottom of the hole, that we dig ourselves into.
Bottom of the hole.
The bottom of the hole.
Is there a bottom to a hole? I don't know that there is a bottom to a hole.
What's the word? What's the right terminology for that? What I'm trying to say? You dig yourself a hole.
The bottom of the
and grave? The bottom of the pit.
Dig your own grave.
You're at the bottom of the pit.
Pit. I like pit better than hole.
Okay, you're at the bottom of the pit.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I mean, where's the bottom?
I get it, and you're trying to get yourself back up. And sometimes it takes really falling and hitting the bottom. Now you got me thinking about it. Like, where is it going? And in our cases, we hit the bottom by having some really suicidal things happen. We talk more about that in a podcast on Akasha Flicks. If you're interested, akashaflix.com. There you can subscribe and watch conscious content. We do more real, raw and exclusive podcasts there. So if you want to learn more about, how we overcame our suicidal thoughts and attempts, etc., make sure to check them out.
Yeah, it's like Netflix for
conscious
high
content.
Consciousness. Yeah, so it's good. It's not just us. I mean, it's
a lot of people providing a bunch of different conscious content, and we're one of them. So we have the exclusive podcast on our suicidal stories on there if you want to check it out. So all of that is part of—
sounds so weird to say that,
right? All of that is part of this toxicity, and a lot of it is we are toxic. Think about physically how much we put toxic inside ourselves, inside what we eat, what we breathe. If you smoke, if you drink, like the food that we eat, etc. All of this is toxic, and it's a big metaphor for what we do with our thoughts and our emotions that are toxic, that add up and add up and add up, and eventually you get to a point where the old you has to die because it's so toxic, and you have to rebuild a new version of you because you can't move on, you can't continue until the old you dies.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to understand. Love that along those lines, like every time something bad happens to you, every time an emotion is triggered, every time an experience happens that makes you feel bad, makes you feel scared, feared, less than, lack, you sort of create a network in your mind. You create a program, right? Now that program can take on a life of its own, right? Like it can be one thing that one teacher said in kindergarten that then just balloons out into this like just plethora of problems that all stem from that one statement that you held in, that created this toxicity within you, that then just ballooned and extrapolated out. When it was just an
illusion because you didn't really understand it at its full.
She had shitty coffee that morning. She was late for work. The Starbucks got her order wrong. She got a cold pumpkin bread when she wanted a warm one. Who the fuck knows? But it wasn't you as a 7-year-old child in her kindergarten class that was lacking. It was her, right? And so I think it's important that, like, especially in relationships, it's like, when toxic things start happening, they're stored. It's all stored in your emotional body. And if you're not aware of that, and if you are not able to make the connections of how toxicity starts, how it can compound, and how to go back and clean it all up, like it's a long, slow, arduous life, right? Like it's just not full of joy. You gotta understand toxicity and how it affects you.
I want to bring up something that's it's a touchy subject.
Oh yay, more. Do it. Let's go.
But
it's about me, something I do.
No. It's to help people understand. So, like, for example, I feel like I'm trying to like reach you. You're fine. We both, experienced infidelity, right?
Had sex with other people.
Had sex with other
people.
Let's
get real. Had sex with
other people, right?
Ew.
Overcame that, check out our video on overcoming infidelity. But when you have sex with somebody else, right? Whether that's toxic or the thoughts that remain, which could be guilt, which could be a bunch of different emotions, and not just yours, but theirs too, right? When you come back and when we had sex with each other, it would trigger sometimes, right? You to have thoughts about the past, right? I would sometimes have thoughts about him having sex with somebody else during us having sex, right? And so this trigger would then completely, fuck up our time together, because now it's triggering all these things from the past. So when you said we store these things inside of us, that energetic whatever it is, the energy is stored, and when you physically come and you like trigger it, it comes up, right? It's energetic, and so you would feel it, I would feel it, like we're in the middle of it, and I'd be like, like, what's going on? What's wrong? I can tell, and you're like thinking about things, and so it's like that within itself is so toxic and takes so much healing, because it's something that you can't fake. It just comes up.
I don't know why I have the urge to say you can't fake the funk on a nasty dunk, but you can. You can't fake the funk on a nasty dunk. I mean, if you're having poor sex in your relationship, there's probably some secrets, right? There's probably some conversations that need to happen, and there is some healing that needs to happen. Because not to be blunt, but the same vagina is the same vagina. You know what I mean? Like the one that you married is the same one now. It's no different. It's just what is around it. The toxicity, the energy. Yeah, the exchange is not clear. The exchange is not moving freely with your partner. And if you go out and get it from someone else, I mean that's amazing. You're experiencing free flowing energy, but guess what? You're also throwing in a bunch more toxicity that you're going to have to deal with later. Because the bill
is transferable.
What movie did this come from? The bill always comes due. Always.
What movie is that?
Doctor Strange. The bill always comes due.
Really?
Yeah.
What part?
I'll show you when this is over. If you haven't checked that movie out, it's a bomb movie. It's the part when he's talking
she's about to die.
No, it's the part when he's talking about changing time, and the guy's defending how we don't adjust time, and if you adjust time, something's going to happen, that the bill's going to come due always.
True.
So when you break a rule, when you break the universal laws, the bill always comes due. So
yeah. So Taurus, stubborn. We were very stubborn, but because we continued on, and that stubbornness kind of helped us.
Yeah, we were stubborn. Like, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I don't. So
yeah.
I mean, not like that, but yeah. I'm not leaving. I'm still here.
So it would help. It helped us kind of push along this relationship, right? The journey of our relationship. It was just plowing along, right? So pretty much everything that entails Taurus is what we went over today. I hope that some of the characteristics and qualities of a Taurus can help you kind of understand that aspect in your relationship, how it influences your relationship, and hopefully our story can kind of help, right? With
provide some hope,
some insight and hope. Yeah.
I mean, the idea is that if something that we said sparks something within you, that spark will trigger an emotion, and that emotion will then turn into action, and then you'll take action, and hopefully that will then help enact change. And then with that change, becomes a better relationship, a better family, a better everything.
I'm going to add to that call to action here. Journal. Start journaling. Just
dudes, journal.
Counter
her journaling.
Journal for a week and write all the things that you think you need to heal from, and see how that makes you feel. Like next week, when we're here again and we start talking about the next topic, which is in the sign of Gemini. So journal what you need to heal.
I have a call to action for all the men, my boys, dudes. Be emotional. Like let your emotions flow. You ain't a man for hiding behind your emotions. You're not less of a man if a tear falls down during a Hallmark movie. You know what I mean? Like, your girl needs to see that. Your kids need to see that. Your mom needs to see that. You just let the emotions.
It's part of
flow.
Being a human. So
you're just as much feminine as you are masculine, despite your burly figure, right?
Right.
And
it's not a feminine or masculine thing, really. I mean, it's a human thing.
It's a human thing.
Yeah. So
yeah, but I mean that in the terms of gender perceptions, right?
right.
Yeah. So dudes, be more emotional. Call to action.
Journal. All right, guys. Peace.